I'm here with Anat Baniel, and we're here to talk a little bit about the subject of her new book, which I've talked about in the blog. And the book is about Moving to Life, which is a statement of principles about her practice as a physical therapist, or in the general domain of physical therapy. It's really more than physical therapy.
Yeah, I actually do not consider myself a physical therapist. I consider myself, if anything, an action coach.
Yeah, right. And
Yes.
and basically, your basic the basic principles that you've applied in some ways come from the Feldenkrais method, the strategy that was developed. You could commonly summarize as awareness through movement strategy that was developed by Moshe Feldenkrais originally, but you've elaborated it really nicely by incorporating principles or in relating to the principles of neuroscience and specifically brain plasticity science. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you've attempted to do that in this book?
Absolutely. I have, over the years, working both with adults and children, observed, first of all, that under certain conditions, people changed extremely quickly.
Yeah.
And very often in ways that seem to defy reason or medical prognosis or all kind of promises of what's not possible.
Right.
And I try to understand and extract what is it that makes the change happen.
Right.
And I realized that there are a number of things that when I create those conditions or those ways of interacting or having the person do things certain ways, those changes just seem to happen, like miracles seem to happen. And so the first one is movement, which over the years I realized that movement is the first most important thing. It's kind of like my teacher, Dr. Feldenkrais, said, without movement, life is unthinkable.
Yeah, well, I think that's pretty obviously
obvious.
true.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Except that most of us don't think of movement per se. Most people think of exercise.
Right.
And then what I realized is that movement alone is not enough. I actually saw people moving and doing worse. Like doing certain weightlifting or musicians that moved a lot in repetitive ways and so on. And I realized that when people move, there is another element that when it's introduced, change really starts happening extremely fast, and that's attention.
Right.
So movement and attention, when they're combined, it seems like the brain is in this like growth spurt and exploratory spurt that we see with the healthy children.
And one thing that's involved in that, of course, as is really beautifully described in your book, is attention not just to the movement, but to your feelings, to the feedback that's controlling the movement, to the sort of holistic, to generating a sort of holistic image about what you're trying to achieve with the movement. So it's not just about having these optimal conditions for progressing in change, but also, you know, taking a more complete view of what is really controlling the movement neurologically. And I think that's really a strength of this book, and why I would very strongly recommend it for anybody that's interested in rehabilitation strategies and therapies.
Yeah, I love how you say it. The way I experience it working with people is that I work with a person.
Right.
And when people separate mind and body or all kind of different separations, I also, as you know, work a lot with almost very young infants and babies.
Right.
And I observe how movement and the formation of cognition and their awareness of self, and as a result awareness of the world, all grow together and at the same time. So when I go and work with an adult and I see an adult that's aging or getting dull or their thinking seems to be rote and they always say the same thing and so on and so forth, I realize if they could start doing, if their brain could start doing more of what the child, it's not just that their brain will change, they are more alive. So it's not my body's better, but it's like I am better. And that's a very profound thing for me that I haven't been quite successful to break through in my communication to larger numbers, is that it's not you and your body or your mind and your body, it's you.
Well, no one told your brain that you and your movement and your feelings are separate entities that we should think about in some sense in rehabilitation or in any way in life as separate. This is all, they're all unified. I mean, they're all part of the same complexly integrated processes. They don't occur in isolation. So, of course, the most powerful way to drive them to change positively is thinking about them in a more holistic or more integrated way.
Absolutely. And then I organized, coming back to your original question, 8 other ways or principles, what I call essentials, for vitality.
Right.
So by the way, when I started doing the work, I did the work. I didn't know the neuroscience yet.
Right.
And then I started actually reading your research that was published wherever I read it. I don't remember right now, but I remember the research. And I remember just the profound delight and joy I had, because I thought, oh, they're figuring this out.
Right.
I know it in
right.
practice, but it was very helpful to me, because then it empowered me to